In a future world, the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse have been successfully awakened, and Malcolm uses them to rule over the United States. Yet a significant portion of the population still resists him. In classrooms, students learn not about knowledge but about the good times before America's downfall, detailing Malcolm's atrocities and learning how to fight against him. Because Malcolm controls the 4 Horsemen, people's lives are miserable, and they can only live in dark houses, hiding every day. The teams fighting against him are being destroyed one by one, and Jenny is captured in battle. Malcolm orders Lara to execute Jenny in public. At this moment, Jenny tells Lara that she should fight against Malcolm instead of joining him, because her own mother was also caught up in this war. Ichabod is also imprisoned by Malcolm. Lara is furious. She thought her mother and Ichabod had long since died, and all this was a lie. Lara raises her gun to execute Jenny. Jenny kicks Lara away, pulls out a dagger, and breaks the Horseman of War's helmet, only to be killed in retaliation. With her dying breath, Jenny apologized to Diana inside the armor, because she had failed to save Diana's daughter, and all their plans had fallen apart. When Lara sees the half-face inside the helmet, she can't believe it's true. Then Lara takes the dagger back to Malcolm, saying it can pierce any armor. Luckily, Jenny didn't harm more horsemen. When Lara mentions her mother, Malcolm dismisses Jenny's words as lies. After Malcolm's smooth talk, Lara is still doubtful. She remembers Jenny's words and thus goes to the prison. Lara is shocked to find that Ichabod is not dead but has been secretly imprisoned by Malcolm. Ichabod forcefully explains to Lara that her mother, Diana, has been turned into the Horseman of War by Malcolm, who was using Lara because she is one of the witnesses. Malcolm imprisoned him for years because he wanted to control both witnesses. After the explanation and learning the truth, Lara suddenly understands. Then Ichabod gave Lara the long-preserved time travel curse, insisting that she must find Malcolm and stop him from using the Turricula Ignis. This way, she could save everyone, but first, she must rescue Diana. With that, Lara immediately starts her mission, opening the portal of time travel and traveling to the present just before Malcolm fires his gun. Although Lara couldn't stop Malcolm from using the Turricula Ignis, she successfully saves her mother. Unexpectedly, Ichabod takes the bullet, which was beyond Malcolm's expectations. Some viewers might be confused. This episode tells the story of Diana's daughter, who travels back from the future to save her mother. Alex and Jake were patrolling the jungle when they came across 4 eerie coffins. These were the totems used to summon the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Inside one of them was only a battle axe, clearly belonging to the Headless Horseman. While Alex and Jake were searching around, Job suddenly appeared beside them. This was a pleasant surprise for him, as he had been struggling to find the Turricula Ignis needed to summon the Horsemen of War. So, Job took them to Malcolm, hoping to find out Ichabod's whereabouts from them, but they refused to disclose Ichabod's location. In anger, Job placed his hand on Jake's back, and suddenly Jake's face turned red. Then Job turned and stretched his demonic claw towards Alex, instantly twisting her neck. Just as Jake was engulfed in sorrow, Job snapped his fingers, and everything returned to normal. The feeling was too real, and Jake didn't want to see his loved one get hurt, so he told Malcolm everything about Ichabod's history book and plans. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman imprisoned by Ichabod and Diana also revealed her purpose. She was there to stop Malcolm. She said that if she found and used the Turricula Ignis, it would summon the Horsemen of War. She insisted that she was doing this to help them. After a conversation, they learned that the mysterious woman's name was Lara, and they began to trust each other. Lara said that the most important thing right now was to destroy the Turricula Ignis. Otherwise, Malcolm would not stop. Due to the immense power of the Turricula Ignis, it had to be taken to the place where primal powers converge. So they followed Lara to a storage room. Lara spoke about growing up with Malcolm, without her mother's companionship, which made Malcolm the only person she could rely on. Thus, she knew Malcolm's purposes better than anyone else. While Diana and Ichabod felt sad for Lara, she suddenly picked up the Turricula Ignis and ran out. Then she locked the iron door behind her. Lara had no hostile intentions. She wanted to stop Malcolm on her own, but Diana wasn't worried because she had secretly placed a tracker on Lara. Then, Diana picked up an iron can and smashed the iron window. They followed the tracker's signal to find Lara's location. Lara was preparing to use the Eternal Flame to destroy the Turricula Ignis, but just as she threw it, Job behind her snatched it away. Then Diana and Ichabod appeared at the scene. The moment Malcolm raised his gun, Lara rushed forward but was instantly thrown aside by Job. Diana fired several shots, and Malcolm fell to the ground, but his wounds healed completely soon after. It was then that Ichabod realized that the Philosopher's Stone ritual had made Malcolm immortal. Lara took out a magic crystal and recited a spell to slow down Job's pace, but they hadn't run far when Job appeared in front of them again. Malcolm, holding the Turricula Ignis, also appeared behind them. He said Lara was an essential part of his future plans, and without this moment, she wouldn't even exist. Diana was very puzzled. Lara quickly explained that she was Molly from the future world, and Malcolm had named her Lara. She was Diana's daughter. It was Ichabod from the future world who helped her come to the present, with the goal of destroying the Turricula Ignis to prevent Malcolm from turning Diana into the Horseman of War. Lara grew up following Malcolm because she learned that Diana had died in an accident. Lara hadn't finished speaking when Malcolm, appearing somewhat impatient, interrupted. Lara stepped forward to plead with him to choose someone else. But how could this be possible for a man of extreme evil to change his plans? Malcolm urgently needed to summon the Horseman of War, and Diana was his chosen candidate. After saying this, he pushed Lara aside and fired a shot. Suddenly, everyone froze, and soon after, blood flowed from Ichabod's chest. When Ichabod was turned into the Horseman of War, it was an unexpected outcome for Malcolm as well. However, this also successfully summoned the fourth horseman. Now that Diana and Molly were no longer of any use, Malcolm ordered the Horseman of War to kill them. Losing his sanity, Ichabod stepped forward, swinging his long sword. Molly immediately took out a dagger, and with a leverage-assisted jump, she plunged it deep into the Horseman of War's chest. The Horseman of War then fell to his knees in pain, allowing Diana and Molly the chance to escape the jungle and drive away. After returning to the archive, Diana informed them that Ichabod had been turned into a knight. Diana took out a dagger stained with blood, proving that Ichabod was still flesh and blood. Jenny said there was still a chance to save Ichabod, but Malcolm's compound was heavily guarded, and they had no opportunity to get close. Alex had a map of the compound, and she casually placed the blood-stained dagger next to a jar containing black liquid. Soon, the jar with the black liquid began to shake, and then the liquid exploded and enveloped the dagger. While everyone was discussing how to save Ichabod, the alarm suddenly went off inside the house, and the security system for the doors and windows immediately shut down. Realizing someone had broken into the archive, they grabbed their weapons and prepared to search separately. Diana turned around to find that the jar on the table had shattered and the black liquid had disappeared. Suddenly, Henry appeared in the corner, and Jenny looked at him in disbelief. Then Henry explained that as long as his soul was trapped in some kind of biological liquid and merged with the blood of war, he would become the complete Henry as he is now. This meant he was born from Ichabod's memories. Only the true form of the Horseman of War could summon Henry's soul because he was once the Horseman of War as well. Henry then realized that his own father had also become the Horseman of War. Just as Diana was questioning his intentions, Henry suddenly said he had a way to separate the Horseman of War from Ichabod, but it required a powerful witch. This reminded Jenny of Katrina, who had once wanted to separate Abraham from the Headless Horseman, but she died before the ceremony could be conducted. So, Jenny remembered that the magic books needed for the ceremony were all placed in the old house in Sleepy Hollow by Ichabod. Because of Henry's notorious past, the others chose not to trust him and sealed him in the cellar. When everyone arrived at the old archive, they found it had been turned upside down, and the most dangerous magical artifact, the Draugr Stone, was missing. The Draugr Stone can awaken living Hessian soldiers to draw their power to activate the battle axe, thereby helping the Headless Horseman regain his strength. Then they immediately split up to take action. Diana and Molly went to the old house to look for the magic book, while Jenny and the others were responsible for eliminating the Hessian soldiers. They took out Greek fire bullets, a type of magical flame that can destroy all kinds of demons. Jenny and the others had just arrived when they encountered a small squad of Hessian soldiers. They immediately opened fire. The Hessian soldiers hadn't even had time to resist before they were easily killed by them. Just when they thought that was the end of it, a large group of Hessian soldiers came forward again. Seeing this, they could only retreat while fighting. On the other side, Diana and Molly found a magic book, which recorded the exact separation spell they needed. It only required setting up a mental ritual to communicate with the trapped soul. This was a battle of the mind and spirit, relying entirely on Molly to awaken Ichabod's memories. But before the ritual was completed, the Horseman of War broke in and slashed Molly with his sword. Molly in the real world was also injured. However, in the mental struggle, Molly did not give up. Just as the Horseman of War was swinging his sword to kill Molly, Ichabod suddenly rushed out and stood in front of Molly. Then he thrust the sword back into the knight's body. Ichabod finally gained his freedom. Molly successfully returned to the real world and told Diana the news. Meanwhile, Jenny and the others had run out of ammunition. They could only fight the Hessian soldiers in close combat. At the critical moment, the Horseman of War rode out on his horse and killed the Hessian soldiers one by one before galloping away. The Horseman of War dismounted from his horse not far away, and they immediately rushed over to check. They saw the armor on the Horseman of War shatter instantly. Then Ichabod appeared before everyone. Molly had rescued him from the clutches of the Horseman of War. He had used the power of the Horseman of War just before he completely broke free, but the Horseman of War had not been destroyed. Ichabod could still feel his presence, and he could be summoned again if a suitable host was found. Just as Malcolm was feeling troubled by this, Henry suddenly appeared there. Henry claimed that he was the most suitable candidate because he was the former host of the Horseman of War and also Ichabod's biological child. This was a cause for celebration for Malcolm. Meanwhile, Ichabod and the others also observed their activities. Through thermal imaging, they discovered that all 4 symbols had been lit, indicating that all the horsemen of the apocalypse had been awakened, and they were only 10 miles from the president's military camp. Just as they were discussing how to respond, the 4 horsemen had already begun their move, clearly aiming for the president. The soldiers on the perimeter immediately went on alert and launched a furious attack on the 4 horsemen, but this had no lethal effect on them. The president, hiding in the bunker, was stunned by this scene, but before she could finish speaking, there was a noise outside the door. Malcolm also appeared there and announced to the whole of America through a broadcast that he was their new president. Seeing this message, Diana and the others became restless. Through informants, they learned that Malcolm would gather his army within 6 hours. To stop him, they had to act before he did, but no one could stop the 4 horsemen. Ichabod thought that Malcolm was the key. He had summoned the horsemen and was connected with them, and only by eliminating Malcolm would the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse disappear. At this moment, Molly thought of Job. Job was a servant given to Malcolm by Satan, and as Malcolm's power grew, Job was treated coldly by him, so they went to the tunnel and used a crystal spell to summon Job. Molly mocked him, calling him the Prince of Suffering from the 6th layer of hell, who now had to run errands for Malcolm. At this, Job was so angry that he gritted his teeth and said that both witnesses would go to hell, where Satan would make them suffer the punishment they deserved. Then Job disappeared. Ichabod immediately realized that this was a message deliberately left by Job. The meaning was to seek help from Satan in hell, but only the 2 witnesses could go. As they recited the spell, a flash of fire took them to hell, and passing through the door in front of them meant abandoning all hope. After entering Satan's mansion, just 1 second ago he was singing in the elevator, and the next second he appeared in front of them. Ichabod, without any hesitation, began to denounce the contract signed between Satan and Malcolm. He stated that before Malcolm became immortal, Satan could never obtain the souls he had bargained for. Then Molly reminded Satan that Malcolm had already broken the so-called contract. However, Satan confidently said that hell was a place that adhered to rules, seeing that he could not persuade Satan to help. Ichabod slowly stepped forward, claiming that he wanted to make a deal with him. Everyone knows that the stakes for making a deal with Satan are souls. After returning to the human world, everyone took up arms and prepared to go and rescue the president. But at this moment, the 4 horsemen were also charging towards them. So, Ichabod and the others split up. He and Diana went to stop Malcolm, while Jenny and the others held off the horsemen of the apocalypse. The Horseman of War, holding a flaming sword, appeared in front of Ichabod and Diana. Just when it seemed they would fight to the death, Ichabod suddenly laid down his weapon. Ichabod knew that his son Henry was inside the armor because he had once been the Horseman of War himself and could see Henry. Then Henry revealed his true face and gave Ichabod a chance to speak. Ichabod said, "We all long for freedom," which stirred something in Henry's heart. Although Henry's mission was to create destruction and provoke war, he realized it wasn't worth being a tyrant's slave or servant, nor was it worth exchanging his own freedom. After Ichabod's heartfelt persuasion, Henry understood the reasoning. Although he could never forgive Ichabod in his heart, he would never want to lose his freedom, even if it meant sacrificing everything. And today, even war could come to a cessation. With that, Henry turned and left. On the other side, Molly and her teammates were still desperately buying time, while Ichabod and Diana went to the room where the president was being held. Malcolm naively believed he was about to win the war and rule over all of America. Ichabod, holding a stone, slowly approached Malcolm and praised him, but Malcolm thought this was a waste of time. He turned and smashed the glass on the wall, then picked up a shard. At this moment, the stone in Ichabod's hand lit up. Malcolm's nose bled for no apparent reason, but he ignored it and walked towards the president. Seeing this, Diana immediately fired her gun.
Why am I still bleeding, Joe?
You gave us no choice.
I think I'm really gonna need you, Joe. I think.
But it appears your contract with my employer has come to an end.
With Malcolm's disappearance, the Horsemen of the Apocalypse also vanished without a trace. Because they had saved the president and made a significant contribution, everyone was then personally managed by Diana. Ichabod also obtained American citizenship, but his soul was entirely in Satan's hands. If all goes well, Ichabod and Diana should live a happy life. And so, the story of Sleepy Hollow comes to an end. I still want to gripe about the fact that this show has been introducing the Horsemen of the Apocalypse from the beginning to the end of the show, about how it's going to be the end of the world when the 4 horsemen are assembled, but after finally awakening them all, they were easily defeated by a few ordinary people, and the weapons they used were ridiculous. Some had 2 kitchen knives, some had daggers, and others had guns and crossbows. In the end, they were not injured at all. I must say, the finale was truly melodramatic.